In this video I'm going to do a review of the new Smudge Tool in Procreate 4 public beta. Welcome to Stayf Draws. I'm Stayf, a Dutch illustrator and animator, and in this video I'm going to do a review and I'm going to test out the Smudge Tool and also the natural brushes in Procreate 4 public beta. And this is version 18786. So I'm first going to open up a new file, and it's just widescreen 1920 by 1080 pixels. And the first thing I'm going to do is select a color for the background. I'm first going to use the oil paint and just gonna paint in the sky, and that has a little bit of a blue tone to it because it's a sky with dark clouds. And because this is oil paint, I will do it a little bit more in the darker values. So the brush is now set to 100% brush size and 100% opacity. And I'm just gonna paint with the brush as is, and there you can see what's happening. Because when you press lightly, it will start to blend, and when you just attack it, you get a lot more paint. So I'm now just blocking in the colors, and it feels a lot more like if you're painting on paper or on a real canvas. And I'm just gonna add some other color shades in it as well. I just have to get used to having brushes that really blend with the paint that's on your canvas. Maybe do some lighter colors up here, and I'm just blocking in bigger colors. There's some sun coming through the clouds here, so I need a little bit more saturation. Maybe some other cloud in the back. I'm just getting some colors in, and later I can blend everything. Now it still looks like a mess, and when I used to work on canvas, I had the same approach of making an image or doing an illustration or painting. Just gonna select a new layer, and I'm still using the oil paint. There are some mountains, or they're sand dunes actually. And when you want to block out colors, this isn't the best brush to do that, because it keeps mixing up. So I'm changing it to the Kaczynski ink so I can really lay down the flat colors and just block out the shapes and really get some paint onto the canvas, because with the oil you're blending a lot of paint on your canvas. So here are some dunes, some sand dunes, and get a straight horizon line, and you can achieve that by using the quick line and then tap on your screen, and then you'll get a straight line, which is a horizon line. Just gonna block in some lighter colors just to get the shades and where the light is hitting the sand dunes. And some greens. Has to be a little bit more yellow. And some water, which is going to be up here. And the Kaczynski ink is still acting the same way, but all the other brushes like the oil paint, the acrylic, wet acrylic and turpentine, you know, are using a lot of the new wet mix feature you can use in your brushes, and that's why they mix so well. But you know, when you want to lay down or block out the colors in your painting, you know, it's better to use another brush for that, like the Kaczynski ink, or you know, here are some great brushes as well, like the dry brush or the Nico rule, you know, to get a little bit more of a structure. But I'm just concentrating on the oil paints, and I'm now going over it with a lighter color and just draw or paint in some. And you can use a lot more lighter colors because these are more mix brushes, and when you attack it, you know, it will give off more paint. When you use less pressure, the paints will start to mix. So it will charge in the beginning and then it fades out. And this is, of course, has some aspects of the smudge tool in it. And I'm using the oil paint brush. But you can also use the smudge tool, and just now using the oil paint, and I'm going to select the smudge tool as well, and when you hold it, it will have the same brush as you're painting with. And by default it's set to around 65%, and here you can, you know, mix your colors. There's another thing when you paint on a separate layer. I'm just going to do it over the clouds because that's on the layer underneath. When I paint here, it also mixes the colors on the layer underneath. But when you're using the smudge tool, it only affects the layer you're smudging. So that's the difference. So I can, you know, merge them together. So it's now one layer, so I can now use the smudge tool on the entire painting. And especially for the clouds, you know, they need to be a lot softer, and you know, that's a great way of blending your colors. And I'm going to time lapse this for a bit because otherwise the video will be way too long. So I'm almost done with the painting, and what I found out is that the oil paint, when you paint with it, it has a lot of dilution to it. Because when I paint now with a brighter color, just takes away, or it pulls a lot of the other paint, so you cannot block out the colors. But you can always, you know, change the brushes you're working with, and you can find that under dynamics, and the pool pulls a lot of your colors away. So if you set that to a lower percentage, then you know you can paint with a little bit more paint, and then it doesn't pull the other paints. So I'm switching between the oil paint, just painting it, and using the Smudge Tool, and that's the same brush. It's a total different way of painting in Procreate, so you really, you know, need to get used to it, and it feels a lot more like painting on canvas. And you know, it can get quite messy because you're pulling and, you know, pulling some paints, and you just drag it around. And you know, if you want to have a little bit more of a natural feel, you can use these brushes, and they're all in the brush set Artistic, and they have changed a lot. So a pro tip is, if you already painted with all of these, so the oil paint, the wet acrylic, and the turpentine, and really liked the settings of the brushes in 3.2 of Procreate, then I advise you, when Procreate 4 comes out, that you copy or make a duplicate of these brushes in 3.2, save them to Dropbox or another cloud service, and then rename them, and then import them into Procreate 4, so that you still have the old brushes you want to use. And it's the Kaczynski ink is still the same. Oil paint, wet acrylic, and turpentine are totally different. And also the watercolor brushes that are default in Procreate have changed a lot. So the water bleed, the wet sponge, and the wet glaze and wash have changed as well. So if you want to and have used them in 3.2, just make a duplicate of them and just make a backup of these brushes, and then you can import them later under a different name. And I've made some other paintings with the oil paints as well, and I'm now working on this painting, and that's for the Look Up Haarlem series I'm doing for an exhibition that's coming in November. And I also used the oil paints, and you know, it has a lot more feel, and it's a bit the same like you know, painting on a canvas with real paint. And here are some other tests I did just of a tree, and it looks a lot more organic than painting with Procreate 3.2. So a lot of things have changed, and that's due to the fact that you now can change your brushes. You can change the dilution, the pull, and the attack and charge, and under wet mix. And that is how you can, you know, make all of the brushes in Procreate feel a little bit more like organic brushes. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like it, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. In that way you won't miss a single video. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, because each time I upload a new video, you get a notification. Drawing is fun, and practice makes perfect. See you next time. Doodles!